The Sunday pot roast sat untouched on my plate. Steam rose in lazy spirals while Marcus passed his phone around the table like a trophy. Mom's eyes went wide at the contract. Dad clapped him on the shoulder. "Finally," Dad said. "That lake house was just sitting there anyway." My phone buzzed against my thigh, the escrow wire request notification. $740,000. My property. My deed. My name on the title that Marcus had somehow convinced a title company to process. "The buyers close Friday," Marcus continued, sliding the contract toward me. "AppVenture Solutions needs this capital injection. Sometimes you have to liquidate underperforming assets." Underperforming assets. The lake house where I'd spent every summer since buying it 6 years ago. The property I'd renovated myself. New dock, updated electrical, refinished hardwood floors. "The movers are scheduled for Thursday," my sister Jessica added. Marcus showed me the confirmation. "Professional service, 3-man crew." I set down my fork. The clink against the plate was the only sound I made. "You're quiet," Mom observed. "This is good for Marcus. For the family. AppVenture could be huge." Marcus's third startup in 5 years. The previous 2 had folded within 18 months. I'd watched him burn through $340,000 of Mom and Dad's retirement savings. "Nothing to say?" Marcus leaned back, that familiar smirk playing at his lips. "AppVenture is going to revolutionize the freelance marketplace. We've got beta testers, venture interest, solid runway once this capital comes through." My phone buzzed again. Another email from the escrow company requesting identity verification documents. Documents I'd never submitted. Signatures I'd never provided. "The contract's signed," Dad said firmly. "Title company verified everything. Closing's Friday at 2 p.m. I looked at the contract. My address. My property description. A signature that looked almost like mine but wasn't. The notary seal dated 3 days ago. A date I'd been in Seattle for a medical conference, 2,847 miles away. "Jennifer." Mom's voice had that edge. "You're being selfish. This is family." I thought about the ghost ledger. Not a real spreadsheet but an accounting that lived in my chest. 8 years of Thanksgivings where Marcus's ventures dominated conversation. Cost equals my achievements never mentioned. Birthday dinner where he announced his second startup while I'd made partner. Cost equals celebration redirected. Wedding weekend where he complained about hotel costs while I'd paid for his suite. Cost equals $1,200 plus hearing about it. Father's Day when he borrowed my car and returned it empty. Cost equals $60 in gas plus principal. The ledger was long. Every entry time-stamped with the exact moment I'd swallowed frustration and smiled. Marcus's voice broke through. "Closings at Pinnacle Title Company. Premium service. They handle properties over $500,000. Pinnacle Title Company. Where Rebecca Chin served as CEO. Rebecca, my college roommate. Rebecca, my maid of honor 18 months ago. Rebecca, who'd given a toast at my wedding about loyalty and the families we choose." "I need to use the restroom," I said quietly. In the bathroom I pulled up the escrow email. The CC line included Archon at pinnacletitle.com. Rebecca always reviewed high-value transactions personally. I called her cell. She answered on the second ring. "Jen, everything okay? I need you to pull a file. 740 Lakeshore Drive. My property. Closing scheduled Friday." Silence. Then, "Hold on." Keyboard clicks. A sharp intake of breath. "Jen, when did you list this property?" "I didn't." More keyboard sounds. "The signatures aren't mine. Check the notary date. March 18th. I was in Seattle. Conference credentials, hotel receipt, flight itinerary, all documented." "Jesus." Her voice went professional. "Stay on the line." I heard her speaking to someone else, rapid-fire instructions. "Closing is frozen. I'm pulling the transaction for investigation." "Jen, who brought you this deal?" "My brother." The pause stretched long. "Marcus Sullivan is your brother?" "He's been in my office twice this week. Very pushy about timeline. Kept saying the seller was eager to close fast for tax purposes." "Rebecca, document everything. Every signature, every timestamp, every communication." "Already on it." When I returned to the dining room, Marcus was showing Dad something on his laptop. My phone rang. Rebecca's office number. I answered in front of everyone. Miss Sullivan? This is Rebecca Chun from Pinnacle Title Company. We need to discuss the transaction scheduled for 740 Lakeshore Drive. I put her on speaker. The dining room went silent. Our fraud investigation team has identified significant irregularities in the documentation. The notarized signatures don't match our records. The seller was documented out of state on the notarization date. The escrow instructions were submitted using an unauthorized email account. Marcus's face went white. Furthermore, the individual who initiated this transaction has been asked to come to our office Monday morning at 9 a.m. for questioning. We've also contacted the State Attorney General's office, as real estate fraud involving forged documents falls under their jurisdiction. Who initiated the transaction? I asked. Marcus Sullivan. He represented himself as having power of attorney. That documentation has also been flagged as potentially fraudulent. Dad's hand froze on Marcus's shoulder. Mom stood with a plate halfway to the kitchen, suspended. Thank you, Rebecca. I'll be in your office Monday morning as well. Please copy my attorney, David Wu, on all documentation. Already done. Jen. I'm glad you called when you did. I ended the call. Set my phone on the table. You called them, Marcus whispered. You actually called them. You forged my signature, I replied. You actually forged my signature. It's just a lake house. You don't even use it that much. AppVenture needs $740,000 from property you don't own, using documents you falsified for a startup that will fail like the others. That's not a business plan. That's fraud. Mom, tell her. Marcus. Dad's voice was quiet. What did you do? The contract was real. The buyers are real. The crime is real, I said. Forging property documents is a felony. Using forged documents across state lines is wire fraud. That's federal. Jessica stared at Marcus like she'd never seen him before. You can't do this to him, Mom said. He's your brother. He's a thief. And I'm the victim. I stood. My chair scraped against hardwood, final and absolute. The closing is frozen. The transaction is void. The investigation will proceed whether I cooperate or not, though I will cooperate fully. Jennifer, please. Marcus's voice went small. We can fix this. I'll cancel everything. We'll say it was a misunderstanding. You forged a notary seal. You falsified power of attorney documents. You initiated escrow for property you don't own. Those aren't misunderstandings, they're calculated acts. The ghost ledger burned in my chest now. Cost of silence when he wrecked my car senior year. $3,400 in repairs I paid. Cost of peace when he lived in my apartment rent-free for 7 months. $12,600. Cost of family harmony when he borrowed $8,000 and never repaid it. Principal plus interest plus self-respect. The sunk cost fallacy, I said aloud. It's the belief that because you've invested so much time, money, emotion, you have to keep investing. But sunk costs aren't recoverable. The only rational choice is to stop losing more. I looked at each of them. Dad, who'd applauded Marcus's theft. Mom, who'd called me selfish. Jessica, who'd discussed movers like this was normal. I've invested 8 years in this family's version of peace. The cost has been my self-respect, my boundaries, and apparently my property rights. I'm not investing more. Marcus stood, his chair toppling backward. You'll regret this. Family isn't who shares your blood, I said quietly. It's who respects your boundaries. Who celebrates your success without stealing it. Who would never forge your signature because they'd never even consider it. I picked up my phone and photographed the contract. Evidence time-stamped. Rebecca Chun was my maid of honor. She gave a toast about chosen family. About loyalty. About people who show up when life gets hard. You know who showed up at my wedding, Marcus? He didn't answer. Everyone but you. You said AppVenture needed you that weekend. Some meeting that couldn't wait. Except there was no meeting. Jessica told me later you spent the weekend at a poker tournament in Atlantic City. The memory crystallized. My wedding day, the empty seat during the ceremony. Rebecca's toast about chosen family, her eyes finding mine. I choose Rebecca. I choose David Wu, my attorney. I choose the legal system that protects property rights. I choose every person who would never forge my signature because they respect me too much to try. I walked toward the door. Jennifer. Mom's voice, sharp with panic. You can't just leave. I turned back. We're not discussing anything. The title company is investigating. The Attorney General is investigating. My attorney is documenting everything. This isn't a family matter anymore. It's a legal matter. But Marcus could go to jail. Yes, he could. That's what happens when you commit felony fraud. David Wu texted, got your voicemail. Title company contacted me. Building case file. Document everything. My attorney's instructions. I'll be following them precisely. I left. The door closed with a soft click. Not a slam because this wasn't about anger. This was about mathematics, cold and exact. At home I made coffee. Opened my laptop. Started documenting. Timeline of fraud attempt. March 15th. Marcus lists property without authorization. March 18th. Forged signatures notarized. I was in Seattle. March 19th. Escrow opened at Pinnacle Title. March 20th. Buyers hired movers. March 22nd. Sunday dinner announcement. March 22nd. Rebecca Chin contacted. Investigation initiated. Evidence collected. Conference credentials, hotel receipt, flight itinerary. Escrow documents with forged signatures. Text messages discussing his property sale. Sunday dinner contract photographed. My phone buzzed. Marcus, we need to talk. This is getting out of hand. Screenshot. Evidence file. No response. Jessica, he's really sorry. Can't you just drop it? Screenshot. Evidence file. No response. Mom, you're destroying this family over a house. Screenshot. Evidence file. Silence. Rebecca called at 10:47 p.m. Jen, I'm still at the office. This is bad. How bad? The notary seal is stolen. Real notary, real seal, but she didn't notarize these documents. Marcus somehow got access to her equipment. That's additional charges. Theft, unauthorized use of notary credentials. How do you figure that out? Called the notary directly. She keeps meticulous records. She was never at the location specified. And she certainly never notarized your signature because you weren't there. Papers rustled through the phone. There's more. The buyers. They're legitimate, but Marcus gave them fraudulent earnest money. Personal check that bounced. They're talking about suing him for damages, legal fees, moving cost. $22,000 so far. What happens Monday? He comes in for questioning. We document everything. File our report with the Attorney General's office. They decide on criminal charges. Probably fraud, forgery, theft. Timeline. Investigation takes 4 to 6 weeks. Charges filed within 60 days if they're filing. Court date 3 to 4 months after that. Procedural justice. Step by step, documented and methodical. Thank you, Rebecca. You did the right thing. Property fraud isn't a family squabble, it's a crime. Monday morning arrived cold. Rebecca's office smelled like leather and coffee. The conference room had floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the harbor. Marcus arrived at 9:07 a.m. with Mom and an expensive-looking lawyer named Richard Pembroke. The fraud investigation team consisted of Rebecca, her head of compliance Sarah Martinez, and a representative from the Attorney General's office named Thomas Brennan. Thank you for coming, Rebecca began formally. This meeting is being recorded. Mr. Sullivan, you're here to answer questions regarding transaction file LK 7409, property address 740 Lakeshore Drive. Marcus's lawyer cleared his throat. My client maintains this was a misunderstanding. Mr. Sullivan, Sarah Martinez opened a folder. Did you sign these escrow documents on behalf of Jennifer Sullivan? I thought I had authorization. Yes or no? Yes. Did you provide these notarized signature pages? Yes. Were you present when Jennifer Sullivan signed these documents? No. Did Jennifer Sullivan sign these documents? No. Sarah slid another document across. Did you represent yourself as having power of attorney for the property owner? Yes. Did Jennifer Sullivan sign this power of attorney document? No. The questions continued. Each answer building the case brick by methodical brick. Marcus's lawyer tried interrupting, but Sarah's questions were precise. After 40 minutes, Rebecca placed one final document on the table. A photograph. My wedding. Rebecca in her maid of honor dress. Marcus's empty seat visible. Mr. Sullivan, you were invited to your sister's wedding 18 months ago. Correct. Yes. Did you attend? No. I had business. Your sister testified you claimed App Venture business required your presence. Accurate. Yes. We've subpoenaed your credit card records for that weekend. Would you like to revise your statement? Color drained from Marcus's face. You were in Atlantic City. At the Borgata. Playing poker. While your sister got married. His lawyer leaned over, whispering urgently. This meeting is concluded, Rebecca said. Mr. Sullivan, you'll receive formal notification of charges within 30 days. Multiple counts of fraud, forgery, and theft. The buyers have also filed a civil complaint for damages. Marcus looked at me for the first time. I'm sorry, he whispered. I said nothing. Silence is sometimes the most accurate response. The legal proceedings took 4 months. Marcus was charged with felony fraud, forgery, and theft. His lawyer negotiated a plea deal. Guilty plea, restitution, probation, community service. No jail time but a permanent felony record. The buyers settled their civil suit for $31,000. Moving costs, legal fees, lost earnest money, damages. App Venture Solutions never launched. Investors withdrew when the fraud charges became public. Mom and Dad tried calling for weeks. Text messages about family healing, forgiveness, how I was being too harsh. I documented everything. Responded to nothing. Jessica tried once. He's lost everything. Isn't that enough? I sent one reply. He tried to steal my property. The consequences are proportional to the crime. This is accountability. She didn't respond. 2 years passed. The lake house is quieter now. Changed locks, updated security codes, installed cameras. Not from fear but because boundaries are physical too. Last weekend I sat on the dock watching sunset. The water was mirror still, reflecting orange and pink like liquid fire. Rebecca called. Saw the news. You're expanding. Bought the property next door. Converting it to transitional housing. 8 units. Using what money? Wine. Saved $180,000 from not funding Marcus's lifestyle for 2 years. She laughed. That's poetic. That's math. The ghost ledger had settled. Every entry accounted for, every cost calculated, every investment written off as unrecoverable loss. Total cost of 8 years enabling Marcus. $127,400 in direct financial support. Total cost of family peace. Self-respect unmeasurable but real. Total value of 2 years of boundaries. $180,000 saved plus compound interest in dignity. My phone stayed silent. No calls from family. No texts asking for anything. The silence was expensive. It cost every Sunday dinner, every holiday gathering, every birthday card. But silence isn't always empty. Sometimes it's full. Full of space where obligation used to live. Rebecca still comes by twice a month. We drink wine on the dock and talk about everything except family fraud. David Wu sends birthday cards and occasionally texts about interesting cases. Last month he mentioned Marcus's name. A credit dispute, nothing criminal, just another small disaster. I didn't ask for details. The ledger is closed. The balance is zero. Marcus wanted $740,000 from my lake house to fund a startup that would have failed within 18 months. Instead he gave me something more valuable. Absolute clarity about the cost of family loyalty when family has no loyalty to give. He reported my property as his to sell. Forged every signature. Celebrated the pending theft. Then the title company CEO walked into that Sunday dinner via speakerphone. My maid of honor, the friend who showed up when blood family didn't. His fraud became his record. His theft became his reputation. I wanted him to learn that property rights aren't negotiable. Instead, I learned that some investments never return value, and the smartest financial decision is knowing when to close the account. The ledger is balanced. The property is secured. And the lake house stands as proof that not everything worth protecting comes from blood. Sometimes it comes from clarity that blood alone isn't enough.